Hi there, and welcome to this decision-making tutorial on logic puzzles. So we're going to go through a few different methods on how to tackle this question type. So in this lesson, we're going to go through a few different methods to tackle logic puzzles. Now the first one is called the golden clue method. The second one is called the follow-through method. And as a little bonus at the end, we're going to go through one that can sometimes be used called the stated fact. Now I know that these methods all sound very abstract for now, but bear with me and we're going to go through them one by one and explain each of them. So we've done a lot of different research into decision making and the inner workings of it. And logic puzzles were something that were always one of the challenges of decision making because it can take quite a while in order to tackle these questions. However, in the latest research we've done, we found that most questions actually have a few little sneaky tips that most people don't even know about. And it can actually make these questions incredibly easy to tackle. So that's what we're going to explain in the golden clue and the follow-through method. So the golden clue method fundamentally is exactly as it sounds. It describes finding one bit of information which helps us find the answer. Now that one bit of information in terms of a golden clue is commonly about an extreme of sorts. So if we have something to do with the highest, the lowest, the greatest, the weakest, something at one of the extremes, that's when we could start work backwards from that extreme and get the answer. So that describes finding the golden clue. In terms of what questions golden clue actually comes up in, as you guessed, we kind of need some sort of numerical value. So it's something to do with, currencies or heights or places in a race or something to do with that. Once we've found that golden clue, we simply just pace ourselves backwards and work out where we are because of that golden clue that we found. So let's consolidate that theory into practice and try an example question. Now, if you want to have a go using your own method, first of all, pause the video now and give the question a go. But if not, we're going to talk through the golden clue method just now. So hopefully the immediate thing we want to look for, and with the golden clue, is something to do with the highest, lowest. Now we know this one has prices in it, which is good for us because it means the golden clue could apply. So we're looking for something to do with an extreme of price. So either someone spending that 28 euros or someone spending that 55 euros. And at the very last line here, we have cooking was the cheapest activity. That is our golden clue. Funnily enough, cooking is also actually the topic of our question. So we're going to work backwards from that. So we know already that cooking is 28 euros because that's the cheapest. Now, what else do we know about the prices of things? We've got that cooking was the cheapest, so we know that cooking is 28 euros. Now let's find out how else we can link that 28 euros in. So where else in the passage does it mention prices? Well, actually only one other point. It has this bit in here. So Andrew did not spend the most on his activity, but spent 10 euros more than Cassandra. So what does that tell us? Well, since Cassandra and Andrew are exactly 10 euros apart, they must either be the 28 and 38 bundle, or they must be the 45 and 55 bundle. However, we know that Andrew didn't spend the most. If they were in the 45 and 55 bundle, that would put him at spending the most. So actually they must be in this first bundle, the 28 euros and 38 euro bundle. So from that, we can then work out that Andrew must have spent 38 euros on his activity. So we're just going to note that down, 38 euros. And that means that Cassandra therefore spent 28 euros. Now, hopefully that rings a bell because we know something else about 28 euros. We know that that was the cooking price. So that actually answers this question off the bat, that Cassandra was the one who went cooking. So if you managed to get that via your own method, absolutely well done. If not, just know that we can solve it in only 2 steps. How simple is that? So as long as we find that golden clue to begin with and work backwards, we'll always end up with our answer. Now, this tip may go without saying, but it's important to actually pay attention to what variables your answer options and your question are talking about. So here they were only talking about the cooking and the names. So that's what we needed to get from. We needed to get from an activity to a name. So there's no use matching up things when we don't necessarily need to. We didn't really care who did all the other activities. We just care about who went cooking. So maybe quite a simple timing tip, but only do what you need to. Don't spend extra time matching up things that don't matter. So here's another one that we're going to explain through the golden clue method. Again, if you'd like to give this one a go, now that you've got your newfound knowledge, pause the video and have a shot. If not, bear with and we're going to talk through it in just a moment. Okay, so let's focus on what this question is actually asking us. We have to find the currency and the price of rooms A and D. So bear in mind, these answer options aren't for one room, they're for two different rooms, D coming first and A coming second. So let's look for our golden clue somewhere in the passage. Hopefully you'll have found that the product in zloty had the lowest numerical price. So here is a good golden clue, because as you can see, the answer options that we've got are only talking about the zloty and the Danish krone. So that lands us in good stead. So we know the lowest price has to be in zloty, which means that it has to be 57 zloty. So the price of the zloty room is going to be 57. So therefore, we can already rule out one of our answer options. We can rule out answer option C, because we know that the lowest price and zloty have to be the same room, and answer option C would be implying that they are different rooms. So the next thing we have to do is look for something that is going to tie in that currency. So only other time we have anything mentioned about zlotys or currency in general is in this statement at the start here. So we're told sort of what rooms have what currency attached to them. So you can see that zloty is not for B and D, and room C uses euros or pounds. So by process of elimination, the only one that can have zloty is room A. So that means that we're going to be having room A as the zloty price. And that actually leads us directly to our answer, because only one of the remainders, which is option A, has zloty as the second thing going on. So that means that it has to be answer option A. So we've ruled it out and got to it, and again, only 2 steps. So the follow-through method is the second method that we're going to talk about. Now that works on the basis that some things are mentioned more than others, and the things that are the favourite tends to be the things that are relevant. So if something is mentioned multiple times, that's good for us. It gives us lots of information and lots of things to work with. So the follow-through method describes looking at the frequency of what things are mentioned and starting off with the most mentioned, basically. So let's give an example a shot. So if you would like to give this one a go, then pause the video now and have a shot. But if not, we're going to talk through the follow-through method just now. So the first thing that we have to do, as I said, is find what's mentioned most frequently. So in this one, all we're going to do is look for how often the 4 trains are mentioned. So here we have Birmingham is going to be mentioned once. So that's only once there. Wolverhampton is mentioned 3 times overall. Milton Keynes is also mentioned 3 times overall. And Glasgow is only mentioned once. So for Milton Keynes, we're going to want to know both the departure time and the platform. So we're just going to write both those things out. So we're going to go for Milton Keynes first. And we want the departure and the platform. So let's go through that and see what we've got so far. So about the departure time. Well, we have written here about the only bit of information about departure times that we actually know is this bit here. So we know that the Birmingham train leaves 45 minutes after Wolverhampton train and 45 minutes before Milton Keynes train. So what that's saying to me is that we have 3 trains. So we have Birmingham, Wolverhampton and Milton Keynes. And we have Wolverhampton first, then 45 minutes later we have Birmingham, then 45 minutes later we have Milton Keynes. So it has to be a 45-minute gap within each of those. Now looking at the available times that we have, there's actually only 3 times that work for that, which is going to be 10:30, 11:15 and 12, because they're all 45 minutes apart. So that's going to mean that we have Wolverhampton at 10:30, Birmingham at 11:15. And finally, our departure of Milton Keynes is going to be at 12 o'clock. So we've already got our departure time here, 12 o'clock. So it's worth mentioning at this point, let's imagine that we're running out of time for this one. Answer option B is half right so far. We know that it does depart at 12. So that could be a good way for us to go, is looking at that departure of 12 there. But let's just try and find the platform nonetheless. So we know that Milton Keynes train departs from an even platform. So grand, that takes us to either platform 2 or 4. However, we know that the Wolverhampton train departs from the highest number platform, which is platform 4, meaning that the only one we're actually left with is even platform 2. So just looking at what's mentioned most often, we can actually see that B must be correct here. We can rule out the others just based on the information that we've already got. So looking at the times that we had for Birmingham and Wolverhampton, and knowing that the Glasgow train must leave between platforms 2 and 4 for Wolverhampton and Milton Keynes, so it must depart from platform 3. So hopefully you can see that just using what is mentioned most often can lead us directly to our answer. Now, the third thing we're going to talk about, and the little sort of bonus fun thing on the end that sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't. We prefer to use golden clue and follow through methods. However, if we're lost and at wit's end, then we just look for what have they actually told us? What have they explicitly told us? And we call this the stated fact. So if we have a stated fact somewhere saying that X is exactly Y, that's where we start. And then we work backwards from there. So here's an example question where we're going to talk through the stated fact. So if you'd like to have a go of it yourself, pause the video now. If not, stay with me and we'll go through this one together. So the first thing that we want to do for stated fact questions is get our information into some sort of form that we can understand it. So for me, I put it into a table. If we were using the scratch pad, which we're going to have to for this year, we would just be writing, George equals, and then have two things afterwards, one for homework, one for time. It wouldn't be as neat as a table, but still going to be the same format. So let's look at what stated facts we have going on first. Well, we have explicitly that Rich did history. So we have Rich here and then did history. So let's pop that in. We're just going to put Rich and history. I don't want to write in any more than that because H is a good enough identifier for me. Next we have Spanish took the longest time to do. So we can't fill that into our table just now, but we can just have in our minds that Spanish is 45 minutes. Okay, so that's our stated facts to begin with. Let's look at what else we can have that we can work out explicitly. Well, timing wise, we have Rich and Anne combined took 1 minute fewer than Julian. So the only numbers that work for that is if we take that 15 and that 22, and that's going to equal 37, which is going to be 1 minute fewer than our 38. So that means that Julian must have taken 38 minutes. So we're just taking this bit of information here and we're going to pop Julian as 38. So that means we know that Rich and Anne are 15 and 22. We don't quite know which way around they are just now, but let's continue reading and see if we have anything that can distinguish that. So we have Rich spent more time working than Anne. Awesome. So that means that Rich spent 22 minutes and Anne spent 15 minutes. So we've turned that up. So let's put Rich in at 22, Anne in at 15. And that means that George is a slow coach here who's spending 45 minutes on his homework. Grand. So the next thing we have to do is work out where the homeworks all lie. So we know that Spanish, if you remember, was 45. So let's throw that in. Let's throw that George did Spanish homework. And really, this actually gives us enough information to answer the question. So we just read through the different statements that we have and we just decide which ones we're going to rule out or say is true. So the first one here, Rich spent 15 minutes on his history homework. No, he spent 22 minutes on his history homework, so rule that one out. Next one, Anne did her politics homework in 22 minutes. Well, we know that Anne did homework in 15 minutes, so no, we're also going to rule that one out. And then George did her Spanish homework and it took 45 minutes. Brilliant. That matches up to an exact line of our table. So we can confidently say that George was the fastest of the group and she did her work in 45 minutes. So you can see how just starting off with the stuff that we know, we can actually get to the answer. We don't need to do much, big digging there to get to the answer. So bear in mind that when we say stated fact, we're just meaning something that is easy to figure out. Now, stated fact may come hidden in like a negative format. So if we're told the shoes are not blue or red, then we're like, okay, that doesn't really tell us anything. But what if there's only 3 colours? So that means the shoes must be green. So always think of what that stated fact is telling you in the context of the entire question, because sometimes a negative can lead you to something positive. Okay, so here's another stated facts one for you to have a go off. So if you'd like to try it yourself, pause the video now and come back and we'll talk through it together. So with this one again, the first thing we're going to do is get our data into some way that we can understand it. So we've got this table going on here. I'm going to look for that stated fact first. And in this case, it's actually said as a negative. So we've got Sarah is good friends with the French and the nursing students. Now, as much as we encourage self-love and being friends with yourself, in this case, that means she cannot be a French or a nursing student, which means she must be a liberal arts student, because that's our only 3 options. So let's pop that in first. We're going to have Sarah is a liberal arts student. Grand. Now let's look at what else we have for the remainder 2 girls. So we have here Rachel is best friends with the nursing student. Grand. So that means that Rachel has to have a friend who's a nursing student, and it can't be Sarah because she's liberal arts, which means nursing must be Cherith, which by process of elimination means that Rachel must study French. And that makes sense, and that matches with all the different bits that we've been told here, including that last statement, if Cherith does not study liberal arts, great, she's a nursing student. So that actually leads us to the answer already. Just by looking at that one fact, we can say here the answer to this question has to be B. So well done if you managed to get that one. So how do we know where to start with these sort of questions? If we've got these 3 methods, which one do we use first? Well, the easiest thing to go with is a stated fact. So we always check if there is a stated fact in there first. If there isn't, then we have a look for golden clues. Now remember, golden clues can only be in numerical type questions. So if you don't have anything with numbers in it, then we can't use the stated fact. We can't use the golden clue, sorry. And then if one of them is very blatantly mentioned, more obvious, that's when we go to our follow through method. Once you do a lot of logic puzzle practice, you'll start to find it almost comes by instinct which method you actually use. All 3 of them will work for different types of questions. So it's just about getting your mindset right to pick the right method for the right question. So in this lesson, we've managed to go over 3 different methods. So we've been over the golden rule, the follow through method, and the stated fact. So just to consolidate all these 3 methods, if you go away from this lesson and try some more logic puzzles, there's so many different types of logic puzzles out there. So I want you to try them and see how you can adapt these 3 methods to your puzzles. That's the end of this lesson today, so well done on getting through it, and I hope that I see you again soon. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share it with your friends so that they don't miss anything out on the journey into medical school. To unlock the rest of the series, which is 70 videos including live walkthroughs and over 1,000 different questions, just click the link in the description below.